This week we're reading The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, otherwise known as An Absolute Acid Trip.
Hi readers, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the book pod where we celebrate the heroines we love
and roast the ones we don't. We'll be your TBR FGMs.
Fairy godmothers.
And find you the best 5-star reads, the spiciest romance, and save you from the overhyped DNFs.
So grab your favorite drink and get cozy. Welcome to Season 3. It is time for our first epic series of the season.
Woo! This was a good one.
I forgot how good it was.
Yeah.
The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. There are 3 books in this series.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to read them back to back.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the Winter's Curse. Like, they build on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the story isn't done.
Mm-hmm.
There are some series out there that feel like some of those books could be standalones. Like, are you just dragging this out to have more money, essentially?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel that way about the Throne of Glass series.
Yes, 100%.
Where it's like, there is a continuing, like, story arc, but, like, is there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but these ones you just, like, smash back to back. I also feel like this first one wasn't that long, but looking, it's 385 pages. Maybe that's just short for...
I think page count is, like, shorter than normal, but it's a bigger than normal book.
Oh.
So
it
does feel like a little bit meatier.
Yeah. Because I feel like when I was reading it, it was over before I expected. I was like, oh, damn, we're like already done?
Mm-hmm. But I prefer stories like this that are bite-sized.
Oh,
where,
yeah.
Like, you can finish it in a day and a half, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah. Because otherwise it just kind of like, I feel like it gives you a book hangover more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like this is just like, oh, man, I do love fantasy romance.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a reminder. You need a little palate cleanser. Like, get back into the genre.
Yeah.
This is also a great introduction to romantasy for non-romantasy readers.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of romance.
Mm-mm.
You get hints of it.
Yeah.
And it's a very approachable world setting that feels familiar and yet alien.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like that is similar to something else that we've read, where it's like a meshing of the familiar and the unfamiliar. Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, maybe?
Half a Soul's up there. I'd say Bride is probably up there. Legendborn is up there.
Yeah. It's kind of that, like, doing a little taste, like, not going to be crazy, but it's going to be enough to,
a little frosting on your contemporary setting.
I love that. Yeah, frosting. A little shimmering sugar cookie.
But this is, like, spicy frosting. Not sex spicy, but, like,
this
dark.
is like wasabi when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, like you're eating a piece of sushi and you're like, holy fuck, okay. Anyways.
This is not for your readers who like the Mary Sue characters, who like...
Ooh, yeah, no.
There's some things that the characters do in this book that you're like, ooh, that's evil.
Yeah.
That's bad.
I will say I kind of like that.
Oh, yeah.
The Fae in this are like legit not good people.
Actually, alien, want to kill humans.
Yeah, because I feel like ACOTAR, the Fae in that, are just kind of like...
They're
Fae
humans with
quotes.
Wings, okay? Like, oh, they're hot and they live forever. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, the Fae in this are like actually bad people.
Like, you would not want to run into them in a forest.
Maybe bad isn't the right word, but they're like...
morally ambiguous.
Yeah. Very like gray.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Like, they have values, but they're not yours.
They have some kind of values. I dig that.
But also, fun note for our readers is, so Rob from our previous Ice Planet Barbarian episodes,
and Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight. So his lovely wife has not been a romantasy reader. She's read other genres, other things. And she texted me a couple weeks ago saying, I started reading and I finished Bride. That was her very first book of romance. Can you imagine? That's what you get to start with, is Bride.
That's such a fucking banger. Like, I wish I could live vicariously through the thrill of that.
And then that's your first intro to the genre. And then you realize there's an entire genre of that.
Fuck yeah.
So she came to me, I'm like, I have a Bible for you. And so I put together... So The Cruel Prince was on my list to recommend to her because it's a great introduction to romantasy, because it's like, oh, it's familiar and yet, a little gritty, right? She devoured it. Yeah. Killed it.
Fair.
So I did like a little interview with her, and I have some of her notes that are a bit of a hot take on a couple different sections. So we'll kind of sprinkle those throughout our synopsis here.
See, because that's fun, because not that we're bitter or like jaded, but I feel like when we approach a romantasy book, we have kind of like not conditions that need to be met, but like we know how it goes. And if certain things are like missing or like misdone, we're like, okay, this is not it. But it's like, she's like bushy tailed and she's like, wow, this is amazing. It's a fun kind of,
Like to see someone, it's like taking a kid to a theme park.
Yeah.
And they've never been to one, and it's like a completely different world.
Yeah. It's like, this is a roller coaster. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm so excited.
So our main character is not your standard heroine type and does not have a trajectory of character growth that you would expect from a normal romantasy heroine.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate her name.
Jude. Yeah.
But
oh,
this is what I've been sitting on, and I've been waiting to tell you until we opened it up.
Oh, no.
But it took me rereading this because I can't let go of the name. I just hate the name so much. And then I realized, oh, this was a brilliant stroke of genius on Holly Black's part. Jude, as a character, is a spy and a traitor, like Judas.
Whoa! Fuck! Wow!
See?
Wow! Holy shit!
Yeah. Right?
Whoa.
There's no way that's a coincidence.
No.
So I bow to Holly Black on character design and like...
Holy shit. See, because any other author, I'd be like, I don't know if that was like intentional, but Holly Black is like absolutely not.
You don't select a name like Jude for a heroine unless you have some sort of meaning behind it, because no one likes it. And I'm sorry to any readers whose name is Jude, but...
Yeah. Ooh. Wow, that's crazy. Because that does make sense when you think about the other characters in this have like vaguely regular names, like Vivienne and then Taryn. Like they're just kind of like typical like fantasy romance names. And then you have Jude. Wow.
Uh-huh.
God damn.
Yeah, I was so excited to tell you.
Oh my God. That's cool as fuck, honestly.
Right?
Because I feel like this is our divergent in what kind of characters we like, but I adore Jude. I love the corruption, like a woman character is she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to be a bad person. Dig it. Love it. I wish Kestrel was a little bit more like gritty. Jude. Yeah.
Jude is not the normal heroine I like, but I think she's so well balanced. Yes, she's gritty, but she has to suffer a lot. And I think that's what I prefer more of my heroines to do. Like, I want them to suffer and grow rather than like starting out strong.
I get that.
Or being weak the whole time.
Because, I feel like it's almost kind of reflective of what kind of person they are on the inside, that when they have these adversities, what is their response of like to be a martyr, or is it to be like, fuck it, no, I'm going to get stronger and like overcome this? And I feel like Jude is the like,
she's the ultimate character to like,
she gets like punched in the face and she's like takes off her gloves and she's like, fucking fight me again, and she's like bleeding.
She's so good. And Carden is our love interest here. I mean, we're gonna have spoilers as we talk about this book, like even before we get into the synopsis and everything, because I don't know many readers who haven't read The Cruel Prince.
Yeah, I think it came out in like, what, 2018? Yeah, 2018 January. So that's like, what, like 7 years ago? Yes.
So if you haven't read, just read it now.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this before, but for readers who have read The Cruel Prince but aren't familiar with her back catalog.
Oh, yeah.
There's a character in The Cruel Prince called Lord Roiben. Robin, how do you say his name? Roiben.
At least the audiobook
said.
Okay.
And so Lord Roiben has like a girlfriend who's a pixie. Her first book is called Tithe, and it is written from that pixie's perspective, and it's her meeting Lord Roiben when Lord Roiben is still enslaved in the Unseelie court.
Oh, because you did that as a pick of the week. Whoa! Fun little full circle moment there.
Yeah, so she's got a lot going on. And there's another character, like a child character in this book, Oak, who has his own series as a grown-up.
He does. I never read... Did you read those?
I
didn't.
Tried to get into it. Like, I thought I would like the heroine more, and it just kind of fell a little flat for me. I may revisit it. I think sometimes a lot of books, whether you get into it or not, it depends entirely on your headspace.
I could see that. Yep. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Yep. Total, tone shift from The Cruel Prince. But yeah, I will also say the beginning of this book, I am enamored with. Because you have no idea what the fuck you're reading.
It is a acid trip is what it feels like.
Yeah, honestly, you're like, What?
Because you open and it's like a normal childhood home. It's these kids.
Yep. One of them's like asleep on the couch.
Yeah. And then are we just going to get into this?
I think so. I mean, is there anything else that you want to tidbit touch on?
Let me look at my tidbits of interview notes here.
That's fair. I also love all the fan art of like Jude and Carden.
Mhm.
They do her little like horn hair thing. Dig it. Love it.
No, let's start. Let's just do it.
That's ominous.
Yeah.
But anyway, all three kids. So it starts with Jude. I think this is when they're like 7 or 8 years old. Her and her twin, Taryn, are sitting at the couch at home. Vivian, their older sister, is also like laying down. And you kind of like immediately are like, what is wrong with Vivian? And it happens that she has cat eyes and cat ears. And so you're like,
I didn't know she had cat ears. I think I forgot about that part.
I immediately think of Hermione Granger in the first movie.
Yeah.
Or second movie, whatever. So yeah, you're like, okay, this is a little bit weird, but like they're just hanging out. Their mom is like in the kitchen cooking dinner or something. And then this guy comes in and he's like, I have been wronged by this family. I've finally discovered you. And then he just like murders their mom.
Yeah, in front of these kids.
Yep, just straight up. And then the dad rushes in. He has like a sword because he was like in.
He was a blacksmith.
Yeah, like weird,
yeah.
but sure. I know, you know.
These kids are
odd
eating
folks.
Cheerios, watching TV, and then a fairy lord comes in and murders their parents.
Yep. And then he murders the dad. And he's like, okay, well, I can't just leave all you kids here. I know I need to take the obviously not human child, but I guess I can't just leave you guys here also. So we are all going to go back to fairyland. I think he like bags them up and like throws them like potato sacks on his horse and then just like flies away. And you're like, okay, where is this going?
Yeah, it's so trippy, the very beginning, because you there's no way to predict. And I think that's part of the fun of this book is that it's very hard to predict what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It's one of those few books, like even now, if on a reread, like, oh, that happens. That's strange. Then we fast forward and we meet Jude and her sisters when they are like teenagers, like old.
I think they're 17-ish. So it's obviously that, you know, like coming of age.
Yeah. They still live at home in Fairyland with
Elfheim.
Oh God.
Sorry. I read the audiobook. I'm going to throw all of
so
these.
you know how to pronounce everything.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So is it Madoc?
Yes.
So yeah, Madoc is the fairy lord that is dad now, and he is married to a Oriana, and they have an estate, and he's like the general of the fairy army, and he's a badass.
Yeah.
He's got cool swords.
He's a red cap. Is that
yeah, they dip their caps in the blood of their enemies and
fucking wild, first of all, but is that like a English?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Holly Black bases a lot of her fairy stuff on like traditional folklore.
Oh, I could see that.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. But what is weird here is that we get this hard swing because normally a character like with that kind of setup, you would expect Jude, our main character, to be like, oh, I need to escape Elfheim and go back to my human lands. And no, it's the complete opposite. Jude loves being in fairyland. She wants to be a badass fairy knight and serve like the Sealy court, you know, be a knight for the new king, basically. And that's what she's been training to do. And she is a twin.
Taryn. The eye roll, like progression of that, delicious.
God, I have never hated a character more than Taryn.
Honestly, yeah. But she's one of those characters that you kind of get it. You like understand why she does the things that she does and you don't agree with it. She's kind of like a better Nesta. Controversial, maybe.
No, because I like Nesta more.
Really? What?
Taryn is she is the weak, girly, like, I just want to wear pretty dresses.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong. I am right there, but like, there is nothing to give her any flavor other than I'm the sweet, pretty, ladylike sister.
Until she kind of like fucks over certain people on purpose and like knows about it. And she's like, well,
I guess I can't attribute any good intentions for her.
That's fair. I could see that. She, I feel like, is kind of the foil to Jude, where she's like the other half of like, I'm going to marry rich and that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to belong. I'm going to become a fairy. Like, you're going to respect me and I'm going to do whatever fucked up things I have to do to have my happy ending.
So maybe that's the difference between Taryn and Jude, is that they both want the same things, which is to belong in fairyland. It's just how they go about getting those things are so vastly different.
Yeah.
It's hard to you either like one or the other.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I think like 70 or 80% of the way through the book, it's like way later, but like Jude remarks on that. She's like, well, Maddox was training me like Oriana was training Taryn, because like Oriana is a very like quintessential like, you know, stepmother, lady of the court.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh shit, like I didn't know that.
And meanwhile, Vivian, the elder sister, who is like a fairy, she's like, no, I want to live in human land. I want to go to Target. I want to live with my girlfriend. This sucks.
Yep. I love that she's so like, absolutely not. Like, this is fucking gross. I'm not interested. I'm going to go eat chocolate and like give fake fairy acorns to people that think it's money.
And she's the voice of reason, it seems like, amongst all of the siblings and family members, which is nice. And so, you know, Rob's wife's comment on this was that she wanted way more Vivian and felt that she was the more likable character.
I could see that. That'd be a fun offshoot. Like, I don't know if Holly Black could do it because we know so much about like the story, but it'd be fun if you were just introduced to Vivian, that she's like trying to live in the human world, but also has these like kind of fucked up morals of like the fae. And it's like how she like has like a regular relationship with a human that maybe doesn't understand that you can do like bloodthirsty things, but still like maybe kind of be a good person.
So that essentially is the plot of Tithe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because she's a pixie who's been learning to like live in the human world.
Oh, so she has explored these themes. Maybe that's why Vivian didn't get like as much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That tracks.
Oh.
Well, and then there's one other sibling.
Oh,
Oak.
He's so cute.
He's like 7 years old.
The little baby.
Cute. He's kind of cute and evil, which is
honestly, Holly Black makes the observation a couple times, but it's like there is not much difference between fairy children and real children because they'll just like do whatever the fuck they want and they like don't really understand morals, really. They just like, this is fun, I'm gonna do it. And it's like, please do not do that. That is a crime.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the setup of the family. And humans, there are other humans that live in fairyland who are like captured for their skills and their trades and whatnot, but humans are kind of like a lesser species, like a second-class citizen in fairyland. But for Jude and her sisters, they have been raised like gentry, like upper nobility, because of Madoc and Oriana. So they attend like
it's like a finishing school.
Fairy school. Like, yeah, it's high school for fairies. Like, they do literature and they have picnics. It's the school I want to go to.
Honestly.
And when they go to school, they're bullied and they run into people who don't like them. And it's this interesting world. And we're kind of building up to the tournament. Is that right? Where Jude wants to compete in the tournament to become the chance to become a knight. I think.
Yeah. Yes. It's interesting, too, how Holly Black kind of integrates these, like, high school dynamics into kind of, like, this fae land, because it feels very reminiscent of any, like, high school-flavored book that you've read, but it's, like, there's also kind of this, like, cruel edge to it, where it's, like, they're going to kill people and not feel bad about it.
Yeah, they're going to laugh at it when it's done.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no register of, like, oh, this is bad, this is evil. No, it's just going to happen.
Yeah. And we get the introduction to the popular kids.
Oh, I love it.
Led by Carden Greenbrier, who is the youngest son of the current king. And he's like sixth in line for the throne. And he just kind of like fucks off and drinks and like is evil, basically. And he bullies poor Jude. He does have a tail. He keeps it hidden, though, because it's, you know, it's his... I want to say kink, and that's not right.
I mean...
his tell. There we go.
Yeah, that's true. And so he's... Part of his little in-crowd of fairies is... Oh, what's his name? Asshole guy.
Valerian,
Locke, and Nicasia.
Yeah.
And all combined, they all hang out, they all go to school together, and they bully the crap out of Jude and her sister. And so one of the early scenes we get is them like outside at a class, I think. I'm not really going up with the script.
That's fair.
Trying to scrounge my brain for this scene. And they like knock over a basket or steal some of their stuff, or
oh yeah, they put like dirt in their food.
Yeah, and it's shitty. So Jude and Taryn they have a good relationship, like they're twins and everything. They're walking back home after class and there's like words exchanged and whatever. But they come across the stream and then all of a sudden they're like pushed into the stream and Carden and his group had like hunted them down. And there's like piranha fairies.
Yeah. That's how I understood them too.
Right? And they're gonna like jump on them and like eat them if they stay in the stream any longer. But they're scared of bigger things. And so Taryn and Jude are like trying to maintain their grip on like whatever branch thing they're holding on to. And then Carden and his cronies are laughing at them and, giving them shit. And we turn to this point where Carden looks at Taryn and says, you know what? If you climb out of the stream and you kiss me on both cheeks and swear to forsake your sister and never help her again, I'll let you go. Mm-hmm. And what does this bitch do?
She does it.
She does it. And Jude is like, to Jude's credit, she's like, this is the only way we can survive this. Do it, Taryn. Like, we have to play their games. Mm-hmm. And so Jude is freezing in the stream with piranha fairies, and Taryn climbs out, shakes her little dress out, gives Carden a kiss, and walks off.
Yeah, goes on her merry way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because it was only on the second reread that I realized this plays a way bigger part than I realized the first time I read it, because this is a reoccurring problem that she has basically made a deal with the Fae that she will never help her sister when her sister needs help. And there are multiple points when, Jude could do with the assistance of her sister, and she is left hung out to dry.
And some of the magical systems going on here is that, like, you make a promise, a thing with a deal with the fairy, and you are compelled to follow through on it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, humans are the only ones that can lie.
Yeah.
And so fairies can't always tell when humans are lying, which is a fun little trick that Jude gets to leverage throughout the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how they jump into it, but kind of like the big next scene is Jude is offered by Carden's older brother, Dane, who is next in line for the throne, to become a spy in exchange for Jude to become like immune to any glamours from the Fae.
There's a scene before that happens that I didn't notice the importance of it or like the foreshadowing that we get in this scene. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, the same way like Jude's name hit me.
Yeah.
So there's another scene of school bullying, basically, when they're out on a picnic. And there's enchanted fairy fruit that if you eat it,
oh yeah,
it can like make you high and giggly and willing to do whatever people tell you to. And so the counteract to that is salt. Mm-hmm. And what happens is they're on a picnic and this scene.
This is the first like hint that this is romantasy and not fantasy.
It's so subtle, but it is so good. And like I think you only realize it on a second read.
Yeah.
Because basically Valerian, the dickhead, shoves this enchanted piece of fairy fruit into Jude's mouth, like forces it into her mouth and holds it there. And she's like choking and can't breathe. Mm-hmm. And Carden is getting like, this isn't like, he says something like, this isn't any fun if you kill her.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But then they kick all of her salt out, like out of her little picnic basket. And so she is high on a fairy apple. Yep. And they start telling her, oh, how about you take off all those clothes? That doesn't look very comfortable. And so she's like giggling, oh, why? Of course I'll take off all my clothes. And so she's like in her underwear.
Yep.
And all of these fairies are like
laughing
and teasing and making her do stupid shit. And then Nicasia, I think, says, come here, little peasant, and lick my foot. Mm-hmm. Or lick my hand, and it's like covered in dirt or something.
Yeah, like get on the ground and crawl to me.
And so Jude happily is crawling in her underwear on all fours towards Nicasia. And then Carden strides over and like almost shoves Nicasia out of the way and like takes off his boot and his sock and puts his foot in front of Jude's face and says, no, lick my foot. Which, in the scheme of all of this, it's the cleanest thing she can put her mouth on.
Yeah, honestly.
He just took his socks off.
Yeah.
And you could, like, the way that Holly Black describes how Carden is reacting and all of this, is like, oh, there's something going on here. Mm-hmm. It's not great. Mm-hmm. And then we get the tiniest little sliver of things where Locke, who's like the good friend, the good fairy, who's like still not good, but not as bad as the others, he's like, Jude, I'm going to take you home. Like, we're done with this. And so he's starting to help Jude up. And she's like, oh, of course we'll go home. And then Carden grabs her and she feels this tiniest pinprick on her hand, and then she licks her hand, and Carden shoves her away, and then she suddenly comes out of that fairy haze, and you realize that Carden saved her.
Oh. I forgot that this happened. And when you're reading it the first time, you're like, wow, fuck Carden. Like, he's a freak. Like, he's bullying her. And then it's only on the second reread that some of the language that Holly Black uses, when she's crawling on the ground, we get like a reaction from Carden where he's like, his eyes darken or something.
Mhm.
And like, if you've been around the block, you know.
what that means.
So you can tell that there's something else going on here. But it's like he's still a dickhead and June still hates him. But it's like,
But he that's the thing, though. Carden behaves in character for him.
yeah.
And he never deviates that. And sometimes we have these ultra-powered or morally gray characters who step out of character to save their heroine. And Carden never does that. But he does react in a way that indicates that there's something other going on other than what appears to be on the surface, which is such brilliant writing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like that's my biggest gripe with Akatar and like Rhysand is that he's supposed to be morally gray, but like what does he do that's actually morally gray? But then you get a Carden character where it's like, no, I'm still going to ask you to do fucked up things, but like it's going to be not as fucked up as it could be.
You're going to be fucked up for me, but not for all of my fucked up friends.
Yeah. Oh, God, I forgot about that scene.
But that little pinprick pin thing that he stabs her with, like very lightly, like, oh, I never thought something like that could be romantic, but apparently.
I know. Odd. Who would have thought? I still don't know how we get the introduction of Dane. Because there's multiple points where Jude does something wrong and she thinks she's about to get in trouble for it. And then it's actually something else that she did wrong. And I think that's what this is. Because she's having this like beef with Carden where she is like refusing to back down. And everybody's like, just like, let him win this.
Because
like,
they go to the tournament, right?
Maybe that is before.
I think the agreement with Dane. So the backstory with Prince Dane, right? There's Prince Belkin?
Yeah, Belkin.
Belkin, Dane, Carden, and then there's a Eowyn.
Oh, yeah. Eowyn is like a older sister.
And so the current king of Fairy has been in power for like hundreds, if not thousands of years, and he's ready to like abdicate the throne, give it to whatever of his children that are, I don't know, most suited for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the intricacies with the next heir, it's not based on age, it's based on who is most appropriate to take the throne. So all of the brothers are kind of competing for it. Dane is like the golden child, and everyone wants and expects him to be the next king. And so there's the coronation is like the next plot point in development that everyone is edging towards.
Mm-hmm.
And so the tournament is kind of like high school sports day, right?
Yeah, a field day.
Yeah, and you know, and she's allowed to compete in it, but Madoc doesn't want her to become a knight yet.
Right.
Which, if you know what happens, you understand how relevant Madoc's resistance is on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 'Cause she asked him, she's like, I want to compete in this, like, as an actual, like, knight in training or whatever, and then get chosen. And he's like, no, like, we have other plans in place. Like, just hold off, not right now.
Yeah. And it's not because he doesn't think she's qualified, which that's the impression that you get in the beginning, but once you know what you know, oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know how Holly Black, like, plotted this. Like,
it's
like sticky notes.
It's amazing.
Incredible. So they have the field day. Everything goes okay. Madoc leaves halfway through, and Judah's like, bro, like, fuck this. Like, what is happening? And I think it's only after that Dane shows up, and she's like, wait a second. Like,
because
what do you mean?
Like, watches, like, she beats the shit out of Carden.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, that's what it is. Because she thought she was going to get, like, berated for absolutely demolishing one of the princes. And he, like, comes in, and she's like, oh, no, I'm about to, like, die. And he's like, I would like to offer you a deal. And she's like, okay.
What kind of deal? Because deals with fairies could be really bad.
Mm-hmm. And so instead of offering her knighthood, he's like, you will be my spy. I need this skill of yours as a human where you can go into any of these castles of the Fae folk and nobody's going to like look at you twice because you're lesser than, but also you can lie. And none of the Fae can do that. And so you have this like special capability for me. And so she agrees in exchange to never be like compelled to do something by the Fae.
Except by Dane.
Yes. And he very strictly puts in that little caveat there.
And I think that's kind of a good place to close out for part 1 of The Cruel Prince. Is the turning point for Jude in the story, is that she finally has a little bit of power outside of Madoc.
Yeah.
And it's leverage that she's never had before. So she's going to be a spy for Prince Dane, who's going to be the future king.
Oh, damn. Spoiler.
Yeah, a little bit.
From our shelf to yours.
We will see you on the next page.
Hi, readers. Like what you've been hearing? Check out the Spice Archive at notanotherheroine.com to see all of our reviews and ratings. And if you'd like to support our growing library, find us on Patreon and get access to exclusive bonus content.
If you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.